Hi, this is Kirk with Forex Strategy Secrets, and we're going to be talking about long-term versus short-term trading. You probably know that this discussion has been going on for many, many years. Some people say I can't trade the longer time frames. Others say I can't trade the shorter time frames. We want to share with you that you might be able to do both, and we'll give you some examples, and if it feels comfortable to you, then that's great. There are only a few differences between long-term and short-term trading with the 15-5-1 strategy. First of all, the time frames are used would be different. The stop loss settings would be different. The take profit settings would be different, and your lot sizes would be different. Those are the main differences between the two ways we trade. You're going to be doing the same, looking for the same things on the larger time frames that you do on the smaller time frames. It just takes longer for the larger time frames to set up. Now these topics will be covered in greater depth at a different time and so forth. I just want to show you what's possible with this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to some charts and actually show you what we feel would be the good way of being able to do the long-term and short-term trading. I'm going to show you the concepts on the 15-minute chart. That's what you're looking for on the 15-minute chart for a high probability trade would be two things. Which side of the zero line is this indicator on? It happens to be on the buy side or the long side. Which side of this moving average are the price bars? So first of all, we can go move this back. Okay, there's a couple of places. There's one that was right over here, but this one just changed color. So it's a fresh cross or a fresh color change on this 15-minute. And so right in this area is where the market said it's going to move. So that doesn't mean necessarily, oh, I'm going to take a trade because the 15-minute crossed. The next thing we look for is the 15. The 15-minute has to have gone across the zero line. So a couple of simple setups. Now, this is a scan that we have. The 15 sets up, and then in this case it had to wait maybe into the last third or over 10 minutes before the 15-minute bar, before the 5-minute setup. That's where the scan would go off. Now, this is what you need to do. And the reason that I don't have this programmed in for the 1 minute to be part of the scan is because sometimes by the time it happens, you've missed a good share of the trade, and you say, "Oh, I entered when it went off," but you entered in late. And so we're letting you get some set up versus the 15-minute and the 5-minute, and then you can start watching the 1 minute. The 1 minute, we need to be a 4-bar. That's a 4-bar right there. The other thing you want to have is the price bars on the correct side of this blue moving average. But the most ideal part is when you have these three indicators all on the same side of the zero line. So right there. That was a cross, that was a cross, and that was a cross. These top two indicators are in a saddle position. That's a saddle buy. And that's covered in the course material what a saddle is. So right there, you could consider entering a trade going long. And it went 8 pips before it hit this other moving average. But you can manage it and stay in there. We'll go to the 5-minute time frame and show you how we manage that and see whether we would have considered exiting right here or we could just trade it through that. There is an add-on signal. When the price is above all three moving averages, then right here it's close, but it's not across the zero line. It's a fresh color change, it's strong, it's been across for a while, it's approaching, and it's above all three moving averages. So this would be an add-on signal right here. So that turned out to be about 27 pips based on what we're seeing there. But if you'd gotten in down here, the whole trade was about 40 pips. Now let's go to the 5-minute. One of the exit signals on a 5-minute is, I'm going to put another vertical line. This is a male, this is the filter. When the male filter are the same color, for sure you want to consider getting out. If you don't do it there, wait until this 5-minute crosses below the zero line. You probably ought to be out by then. So we'll put a line there. And now we'll go back to the 1 minute. What I'm going to do right here, so we can keep it marked and know where we're at, it's on the two vertical lines that are a little bit away from each other. And there's a line right there that we're interested in, and then a line right here. This is where we said we could do an add-on. Let's go to the 5 minute once again. Okay, right here. Yes, it did change colors here. The momentum slowed down, but it didn't say to get out because the color didn't change on the male. So right here would have been the point that you could have considered getting out. So that's like about the 35 pip range. So now let's go look at this in a different perspective. Right on that line where the 15 minute had the male filter, the 1 minute crossed below. So for sure right there, you might even want to consider it back over here. So within 2 or 3 pips, either place is the place to exit. Approximately 24 pips there, and if that was your add-on, and 36. That's 60 pips in that one move had you been watching that. That's on the 15, 5, and 1. You don't need to learn anything different from that. Those are the 3 time frames. The larger one needs to have a fresh color change or a fresh cross on the 15. So on this 4 hour, we're going to do the 4 hour, 1 hour, 15 minute. The 4 hour just needs to be a fresh color change. If it's a fresh cross, it's even that much stronger. The 1 hour has to be on the correct side of the filter, 0 line, and the 15 minute has to be a 4 bar with all 3 indicators on the proper side. So now let's go look at some trades there. And so what are we looking for in the 4 hour? We're going to mark a couple of spots. That was a fresh cross, a fresh color change, fresh color change. Well, I can tell you right now, there's enough movement, enough setup. You can wait 8 hours to get a proper setup. You may be sleeping for a lot of that. You may be away from the house for a lot of that. A best setup would be the male and the filter on the same side. Is this one the same side over here? No. And you can see what happened. It was just trying to change directions. With this next one, just barely. But up here was a different color. The momentum was not all the same. So another thing is, if you have a 4 bar setup, that is going to be a stronger move. Now, let's go to the 1 hour. Here are the 3 time frames on the 1 hour. What is the 1 hour? What does it have to show? It has to be on the fresh side of the filter 0 line. Was it there? Yes, that was correct. They had to wait 1 hour before that one came in. This one was fine right there. Now we're going to go to the 15 minute. What are we looking for on the 15 minute? If you like this, it could have been a possible trade. There was a 50 pip move right on 15 minute. So I'm going to put another line right here. What do we say? Need a 4 bar, all 3 on the correct side. So from there, that's the entry point. Down to here was about 43 pips. A nice move. On this one, I'm just going to say when the 15 minute has the filter male, or the male filter, however you want to say it, when they both change colors, we're going to manage on the 15 minute. So someplace in that bar right there, 30-40 pip move. What about this one? Well, it wasn't on the correct side of the 34, so that one is automatically not going to be a trade. Let's go back and look at the 4 hour on the center of those 3 bars. See, it was below. It wasn't quite below there, and it wasn't a 4 bar. This other one was a 4 bar. That's what made it more powerful. 1 hour, it wasn't on the correct side. A little bit later it became on the correct side. With the 15 minute, you can see how that 15 minute filtered that out because nothing was on the correct side. Okay, we'll go back to the last one on the far right. And we'll look at some others so you can see the difference, and we'll go back and tie it together. The 1 hour, it was on the correct side, and the 15 minute, see, the 15 minute wasn't ready right at that point. That's why if something flickers on the 4 hour, don't worry about it. When the 1 minute, when the 1 hour sets up, that's when you're going to get the scan. between the 4 hour and 1 hour, give a scan, then go to the 15 minute. Then you're trading in the direction of that larger trend. It's not below. Just make sure everything's okay. Right here went below the moving average with the right color. Everything. This was not on the right side. So you can decide whether you want to take it there or wait one more. I'm going to put another line on this one. That's the entry time frame. So you could enter right here, or another 5 pips later, enter. But the whole move went 40 pips, and you can manage it and take it at a good 20, 30 pips out of that move. Now, could you have entered again? Yes, the 15 minute went across again. Put another line right. Well, we need on the 15 minutes, we need to have a 4 bar. A 4 bar, although they're all on the correct side, this possibly could have been a little bit late. But when it's on the correct side and it's an add-on potential, because it went down, tested, came down again, you can use what an early bird filter. So that's an early bird filter right there. So that would be in the place when that made that fresh cross on the 15. That's where you could have gotten back into that trade for another 40 pips. Now let's go back up to make sure that verifies. See, the 1 hour still on the correct side, and the 4 hours still the right color. Now that is a lot of information, but basically I said the same thing twice, just larger and smaller time frames. Now we can go back to this other chart where we have everything marked on the 15 minute. Let me go back to the 4 hour and show you what we could have done when we put it all the way down to the 15 minute. Okay, I'm going to change the color of this line. That was the 4 hour, this is the 1 hour, and now we're going to the 15 minute. Okay, the 15 minute then, we went through this. There could have been a trade here. There could have been a trade here. This is a shorter time frame. We looked at these, that there were some trades on this 15 minute when it made its fresh cross. You go to the 15 minute, and you can go down to the 1 minute in the 5 minute and see the trade. So I'm going to put another signal right there. I'm going to move this one over one. Let's go to the 5 minute, and you see those signals that it's on the correct side. This one had to wait just a little bit before it was ready. The 1 minute, it's kind of stretched out here, but there's a 4 bar right there. Was a good entry on that one. This one was a good entry right in here. If you managed that on the 5 minute, it would have gone down. Now let's go back to that same area that we were talking about, the beginning of this 15, right over here, going long. Let's see what the 4 hour looked like. Right here, this turned the buy color on the 4 hour. The 1 hour was a cross, and the 15 minute was a cross. So you see the larger and smaller time frames kind of work together and gave you the signals that you can have there. Now we're on the 15-minute chart. Right here on the trend tracker is what we're looking for. Is when the price bars cross below the moving average. You can see several charts that's moved down below. Those would be considerations. Just barely, starting on this one a little bit. Right here, this is right at the 1534. So this would maybe be a heads up, or keep an eye on that one. So we're going to go back to the other charts and look for the EuroCAD and Euro Aussie and see what kind of moves were here based on the setup. So this is bringing heads up to your attention. You have the scanner that's also bringing it to your attention, but you can kind of see the direction you could trade. You might get a scan going in the opposite direction. You look at this and say, well, that's saying that's just kind of a little retracement. See right here? That could have been a retracement scan, counter trend scan. It went 14 pips, but the setup wasn't great, and then the good trade came in after that. So you need to watch this in relation to the scans. Okay, this is the 15-minute on this EuroCAD. So I'm going to take this box and draw it where it first came down to where it's at right there. So that'll give us an idea. The other thing I'm going to do is draw a vertical line right there. That's where it did go across, and it was below the 0 line. That's on the 15. Now let's go to the 5. What are we looking for on the 5? Is it across? Yes, that's a possibility. So let's go back and look at the 1 minute. 1 minute, it has to be below. This one's not below. It's a saddle, that's good. That's below, it's below the moving average. Now your better position is if it's below all 3 moving averages. So right here is where it becomes below all 3. Let's see if this would have been a good move here. Did it meet criteria? On the 1 minute, no, not at that point. It did meet the criteria at that point, but look how close it is to that moving average. So it came down a little bit in your favor. It went back against you, so you'd had a negative, and then a move down. So I'm going to go back to the 5 minute on this second line. See, it was below. The thing that makes it stronger is it fresh? Was it a fresh cross, or was it a fresh color change? Well, we can see that it was correct. It was a 4 bar, but you had this retracement. It wasn't fresh. That was the key on that one. We can see this is fresh on the 5 minute. Now we're going to go back to the 1 minute. Okay, that's not a blow. That's on the border, and that's not fresh. So I'm going to move this over to right there. At the first 4 bar with all of them on the correct side, and it went 3 pips in your direction, came back up to maybe 1 pip negative, and then took off for, it went 30 pips. There was a good 20-25 pip move right in there. So that's the accuracy and how it can take place. This same type of move can happen on the 4-hour chart also. Let's go to the Euro Aussie now.
Hey Kurt, can you make this increase the size of the screen a little bit, or the chart, so they can see the image a little bit better? We're having people having a hard time seeing it.
Like that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'll do this, then I'll go back and do the other one again. So 15 minute, there's a fresh cross. It's below this moving average on the 15-minute chart. So that's a great place to be looking right there. We go back to the 5 right here. It was not below. So we have this one that went below. We can move this back here. That one did go below. And this other one, it was a fresh cross. Now, this is just on the 5 minute. On the 1 minute, we want to have everything on the right side. This is not a 4 bar. Right there was a possibility. So you could have considered a trade right there. And 4 bar, everything's on the correct side. Saddle, saddle, fresh cross, below, it's a 4 bar. So right there would have been a better trade. It came back against you a little bit. Let me go back to the 5 minute on this one. That's where the 5 minute set up. So on this 1 minute, if you've been watching it, you could actually have taken the trade clear back here. You would have gained 1-2 pips. That's all. So this would be the best place. Wait till that 5 minute sets up, and then it had no drawdown at all, and it's a total of 22 pips. But say you've gotten out here at 15 pips. I'm going to zoom out for just a moment. Okay, so you can see that there's some things in here. We could have managed that on the 5 minute. There's the 5 minute. Now I'm going to hit the plus key. So if we managed that on the 5 minute, then we could have gotten a good 20 pip move out of that. Let's go do the Euro CAD. 15 minutes. That's where the fresh cross came and it was below the 0 line. I'm going to draw a line right here. Go to the 5 minute. So right there, on the 5 minute, we're looking, is it across the 0 line? Yes, that's all we're looking for. It happens to be a 4-bar, but we're not looking for that on this particular time frame. It just has to be below, and the ideal is if it's below this moving average right here. It isn't, but can we still take a trade there? Yes, this was, right here was a 4-bar right there. Now, it's what I like to, I usually don't look for this that often when it's in between. I'm mostly looking when it's on that correct side of that 0 line. So when I'm on the 5 minute, I like to see the price below and a fresh color change, and they're all on the side. That is your stronger move if they're all on that side and you see that setup. Let's go back and see if we saw one right here. What we did, this is on the 5 minute. I want to see what that looked like on the 1 minute. See, it wasn't fresh. That's the whole key to this one. It wasn't fresh. It did match up, and you could have taken a trade. It did meet all criteria. It gave you a few pips, then it retraced on you. If they're fresh and they're on the correct side, then that's going to be a better entry. So hopefully that made sense to you as to what we're trying to accomplish based on the 15.51.
Well, there's someone that's asking the question about the demonstration here based on the timing of these color changes and so forth. So that first vertical line, that blue line there, marks the 15-minute color change for the, that's a 4-bar pattern on the 15-minute. So when you go to the 5 minute, you're going to see that you still have 15 minutes before the 5 minute actually creates the next signal that would be an entry signal.
See, this is not fresh. There's 1, 2, it's in a 3 to 5 minute period. Yes, that's good heads up. And you probably could have received a scan there. But
it doesn't mean you enter there, because it would be a late entry at that point. You have to wait for the next fresh signal. That's what we're trying to point out here. It's not you're going to take a trade on that 15 minute. You're not. You're going to go down to the lower time frames to time the next available entry.
Okay, now I'm going to go to the 1 minute. Now here's the first one. Was it above that moving average? Yes. It's better if you're doing counter trend trades. You need to be above across 2. So right up in here, but there's no fresh signals right up in here.
Right, so you got to wait.
Your first fresh signal for everything was on the correct side, on the proper side of 2 of the moving averages was right there. So from right there, you could have possibly managed this. There's 11 pips. It came back against you halfway, and then moved up and down for a while, and then it gave a nice move. So you could have gotten in earlier over here. Now let's go back to the 5 minute, and we see what's happening here. It went sideways. There's a fresh color change on this 5 minute again. Be right there. 1 more minute. You would have received a scan on that, but right here is where you would manually be looking. So that gives you 1 minute to get there and look at it, and then that you have a 20 pip move there. So this could be an add-on signal here, and your first entry could have been over here someplace.
Point being, I hope that clarified what the question, because what we're trying to convey here is that you're going to get a signal on a 15 minute, but you're not going to take that 15-minute scan until you're confirmed that you have a fresh signal after that scan on the 15, on the 5 and the 1. It's not you're going to get the scan on the 15 and it's going to show up at the same time on the 5 and the 1. You're not going to get that. If you happen to be on all 3 time frames, have all 3 charts up, you might see a scan happen at the same time. But to time that's going to be really hard. But when you get a larger time frame scan, you need to go to the lower time frames and wait for the next one. That's why we mark these vertically when we're trading. There's some videos in our scanner form that some of the students have put up that show exactly what we're talking about when it comes to taking live trades.
So you get a scan on the 15 and 5. That's heads up to go look at the 1, and that's when you decide to enter.
Right. I hope that's made more sense, because the way it was being presented, Kirk, was a little confusing, and so I was trying to help answer that question. But this example, I hope, made sense, because we're not saying you're going to get the scan and take it on the 15. That's just telling you, hey, this is the direction this trend is going. Get to the lower time frame and wait for the next 4 bar. And you can time it on the 5 or on the 1 or both.
This one, everything lined up on the 15, 5, and 1. Over here, there's another 14 pip move, so 10 pips realistically out of that. Let's look at that 5 minute at this point. 5 minute, fresh cross. 15 minute, see, it's a fresh color change, fresh cross on the 15. So there was a signal there on the 15. Fresh color, cross, fresh cross, enter. So there was a signal right here, a scan. So once you get an angle like this, there are plenty of times you can come back in and trade. This one happened pretty quickly. If you've gotten into it, don't just think they're all going to go 100 pips. It went up and came back so fast. This one should have been no less than the break even. If you've made a couple pips, that's okay. That was a good review on that one as well. See this big move here? See this big move down here? You can take advantage of some of those. This was like a week ago. It's half of this week and half of last week to make that big move right there. So let me share with you what you're really looking for. As long as it's on that correct side, that's great. But notice that this, you can see as this is developing on this 4-hour chart, it went across. It may not have been obvious, but it went across. Now, but we're waiting for the 1 hour to meet some criteria also. Was this 1 hour correct? No, it wasn't. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. It was almost on the next 4-hour bar before that 1 hour got set up for the first time. Now we go back to this 4-hour chart. Okay, see, that was still across, met the criteria. The 1 hour finally made a signal. Now that's the signal right there. The 15 minute does not have a signal. You can go there, and yes, that one happened to be ready to go. Could have taken a trade there, and it was just a 30 pip move on that particular setup. But look at the long trend. There's plenty of places to get in on some of these. Fresh color change. Correct side. Everything lined up there. That's on the 4-hour. Go to the 1 hour. Had to wait 1 hour before it was across. The scan would have gone off whenever that particular situation met up. Maybe it was 37 minutes or 43 minutes that took before that went off. And then we go to the 15. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to, when it goes off, it goes off. So you're not having to be glued to your computer. Wait for those signals to go off and have them sent to your phone. Now what are we looking for on this 15? 4 bar, that's kind of crossing there. So right in here someplace there would have been an entry signal, and that went a total of 100 pips. Now if you've managed it on the 15 minute, what's the exit signal we talked about? That's one right there. Mail filter. Was there one over here? Yes, there's another one right there. There's two. And the one for sure is when this 15 minute crosses back below the 0 line. That's the one. There's another one that people say, well, I'll wait until they're all a 4 bar. So these have been the same for about an hour or so, and there was this one spike up. But let's just take a look at some of these as to how many pips were involved there. You got in right. Well, we're going to say I'm going to put a line so we can always go to the same point. That was an exit signal. So those are places. So if you can exit there, or that would have given you maybe 10 more pips. This one would have given you maybe 15 more pips, and this one gave you a total of 33. So if you wait till the last one, exit signal, you could have made about 60 pips. And so you need to play with these and get used to them. But if you've got locked in 30 pips, or so you have locked in 15 pips, they take your 15 pips. If it keeps on going, you're going to make more, and wait till you get some of these exit signals.
Right, and utilizing a trailing stop or something can help you catch some of that. But catching that first initial move on that trend right there from that horizontal green line up to where it peaked, you've got plenty of opportunities to catch portions of that trend. But there's no way that any one trader is going to catch the top and the bottom on that unless you're really vigilant. And if you get an exit signal, like Kirk is saying, take the exit signal, because you can find another re-entry signal on a lower time frame and have taken profit off the table already. There's different ways to do that.
So 15 is all we have is information to go down to the 5 minutes. And so there's 40 pips. You could have made a good 35 pips out of that move had you been watching.
Can I interject something here? With that move that's highlighted in that rectangle, if you get an exit signal, you can see where he had marked that exit signal on that second vertical line. You see that it starts to rest or stall out. That's an opportunity to look for a potential re-entry or an add-on. It depends on what you have at risk. How many lots you're trading with and so forth, determine what you can or can't risk. But also utilizing that sky blue line, you can follow it and trail it with a trailing stop pretty effectively, manually or automated, and get in on a re-entry or get the add-on, depending upon whether you close it or not. But my philosophy is, as a trader, I'm hesitant to want to stay in positions unless I've locked in profit. So if I've got to protect profit in place, then I can let it run a little bit, especially if I'm getting larger time frame management signals. So there's other things to look for as far as what color are the bottom indicators. Are the larger time frames still showing on the same side of the zero line? Those are important things to keep in mind before you start doing add-ons. But Kirk's just trying to point out here where add-on options are, but there's more to it than just grabbing them. You have to want to really study out what's required of you as a trader to be able to trade add-on signals, because there's a little bit more to it than just emotionally than just saying, okay, I took another position. You got to protect what you have already before you add on. So
some people are saying, how do I get a hold of this fantastic trading system? You can take this link and put it into a browser. You'll have to type it in, and if you don't want to type it in, I'll show you another way that you can get to it very quickly. Right here, this is the page that it'll take you to, and you can click sign up right there, or you can scroll down. It'll take you to this part at the bottom of that page. There are different ways of paying for the same product. It's only one product, a monthly discount for 6 months, a bigger discount for 1 year, and then you can get a lifetime by paying a larger price. So those are your choices, and you can choose those. Now here's the other way, that if you lose that link or can't type it in accurately, you just go to forexstrategysecrets.com, click on products. It'll open up this drop down box. Click on that box right there, and then it'll take you to this place also. And then if anyone has any questions or any interest, contact us at jed@forexstrategysecrets.com, or you can go to forexstrategysecrets.com, our website, and read what we have listed there. There's a question that's talking about how do you know when, by the indicators, when things are going to consolidate or slow down or even change directions. And we don't know what it's going to do at that point, but we have indicators that will tell us that something is going to happen there's indication that it's going to slow down and not to continue that direction without a re-entry or a consolidation. So we're on this 5-minute time frame, and I'm going to put a line right here. I don't know if that's the best entry point. That's about where we were talking about entering before, is right in here, and then another entry right up in here. So those are two areas that you would consider entering a trade. Now we're going to look for ways to know when to get out. Trend, or you have some profit locked in. So if you're here and you've got say 10, 12 pips of profit, say lock in 4 or 5. You decide how many you want to do it. Here was 5.7, so if you had 5 locked in, you would have been okay there. But say you just had 2 or 3 pips locked in at that point. Now, the way you tell whether it's slowing down is you can go to the 5-minute. One thing that might tell you, some people say, well, as soon as it crosses back below the 0 line on the filter on the 1-minute chart, like right here, that's when I'm going to get out. So that would have been a 7-8 pip move right there. Right here, here's where we're in this trade right here. You can see this consolidation right here. We want a male filter. This is the male on top, filter on the bottom. Right there, when they both change the same color, for sure you want to say, I need to look at this 1 minute, see if it's the place to get out. See right there? When this crosses below the 0 line, after that says that, this is where you would have been told you that you would want to get out of that trade. That was, let's just say 18 pips, and then the 34 pips, based on this example. So it's the Mayo filter that told you to get out, not just the filter only. Filter sometimes can be a heads up. Okay, I've had enough. I don't have enough profit. I'm going to get out based on the filter. But once you have a few pips locked in, like from here up to there, you got 15 pips locked in, and it keeps on going, and you got 27 pips locked in on one, and you have 10 pips locked in on the other. You can put this second add-on to maybe protect 1 or 2 pips profit, so you're not going to lose on it, and that would give you maybe 17 pips on that. So about 18, 19, 20 pips maybe you have locked in and protected. Then wait until you get the male filter. That tells you when that trend is coming to an end. It went across, going short. We're on the correct side of the moving average. 5-minute was on the correct side in the 1 minute. So right here, the 1 minute, there's a 4 bar, so that would be the an entry signal right there. May or may not be an add-on signal on this one. Possibly. This moves so fast I wouldn't have been able to catch that one. This one maybe, but it went sideways. So this one I may not have put an add-on signal on, but and we're right here. We're up to 10 pips. But I'm up 10 pips for sure. I'm going to protect 1 or 2. I just you can guarantee you that's what I'm going to do. And say that you didn't, but it moved down fast and back up fast. Let's go to the 5-minute to see where, after this line here, where we possibly would have considered getting out or looking for an exit signal. Male filter or fresh cross. So any place in this area, it's telling you that you want to get out. So I'm going to say that we got out right up here. I'm not going to try and take down to here. We got out there. Total, that was about 25, 26 pips. Let's see what that looked like on a 1 minute. 1 minute, after you saw this, you're below already, and so I would be jumping out someplace in here. Here's probably the better exit signal right here. It's when it crossed back above that 0 line, and there's a 4 bar going the opposite direction. So still right in that area would be an exit signal. So you can see how you can manage that. Yes, it did go 30 pips. Come back half of that, down 30 pips again, come back a third of that, come down again. So a couple of times it was bouncing off this area to get your 30 pips, but you could have gotten 15 to 30 pips on that trade based on those exit signals. I hope that was a good enough explanation saying how to use the indicators for exit signals.
I take note of that and I start looking at the other time frames to confirm, okay, is this just resting or is this starting to consolidate? I notice if it starts to fluctuate from one color to the next, one color to the next, back and forth and back and forth, that's another signal. If the price bars start to get a little bit tighter, they're not as long or large, that's another indication. So they're just some subtle patterns to look for as well. Generally, they're common sense for everybody, but sometimes we forget about them. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.